Hi everyone, today I'm here with a fun video looking at the new release from Tim Holtz. So there are lots of new things in this release, but today we are going to look at bunnies and alphabets, so much fun stuff here, and we're going to create 3 different cards that are themed for a baby. So I've got lots of new cousins and people coming that I just don't make baby cards very often. And so today we're gonna make some fun baby cards with this new release, and I hope you will enjoy it. Let's get right into that video. These are the cards that we will be making in the order that we will make them in this video. I'm going to show you some fun ways to add texture to your bunnies and just fun uses for these new die sets. So we will get right into the video. I'm going to start by showing you the die sets that we're going to use. We're going to start with Bunny Stitch, which is what 2 of these cards use as the bunnies. And then we're going to use a little cardstock from scrapbook.com. We're going to use the new Alphanumeric Emporium, sorry that is a long one, and that wood slice. So in the bunny stitch, let me show you the pieces that are included. I have 3 bunnies and their outlines. Then we also have these other little bitty pieces that go with them. So you can make a lot of different scenes, and everything has an outline. So these are the stitches that are the little X's. I actually don't use the stitches. We've got a heart, a carrot, a little piece of grass, and an egg. So this would be great for an Easter set as well. So many things you can do with it. My inspiration for the colors came from the scrapbook.com set of sheets, and we're going to only use the gray from this, but it just gave me a lot of ideas and is the reason that I decided to use Saltwater Taffy for a lot of this card. I'm going to start by cutting the bunnies out of plain white paper, and this could be really anything because I'm going to heat emboss over these white images to give them some texture. So to heat emboss these, I'm just going to take my Versamark stamp pad and add some ink to the front of the whole bunny. And I'm putting this on the new scrapbook.com silicone mat, and that's because it's very easy to wipe off and it just gives you a nice surface that you're not having to worry about. Then I'm going to use a coffee filter, and I just feel like that's an easy way to do embossing powder. And this Lawn Fawn textured white, and I'm going to pour it all over my bunny, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like heated up. It looks a little more off-white when you first put it on there, but when you heat it up, it becomes a nice bright white. And you could do this with tweezers. I'm just trying to be very careful with my heat embossing not to burn my fingers. There's a lot of different ways you could put it down on a mat and do it. I just like holding it and kind of turning it over into different areas. But do you see how that turns that nice textured white? It is so cool looking. It looks so much like just a velveteen rabbit. Just exactly what I would think a stuffed rabbit looks like. Here he is up close. He's just so cute. So I am going to use some of that scrapbook.com gray paper as an outline behind this guy, because where his little cutouts are in this, you could leave them all gray. You could put parts, I might do a little inlaid die cutting with them. Like this is part of his ear right here. So this is what he looks like with something dark behind him, which looks really good. So you could leave it that way. I will put some pink parts in his ears and things like that just to make it extra special. And then let me show you what's in this next set. So I'm looking at wood slice, and I'm not going to use any of the wood slices, but it has great letters in there that just seem to go so well with this little bunny. I'm going to search through all these letters and find all the letters I need for Welcome Baby. Okay, tip alert, I have a sticky note right here, and this is a full sticky sheet. So I'm sticking all of my letters that I'm gonna need to this little piece of a Post-it note. And I have an entire short about doing this, but I'm gonna add all my letters, and then I'm going to stick this Post-it note to the piece of paper that we're die cutting so that they stay together, and it just helps you keep up with these little bitty pieces. So just a quick tip. Now I wanted my background to have some interest, but I wanted to keep it monochromatic. So I took, this is actually a regular piece of paper, not watercolor paper. I just had been ink blending, and I just wasn't super happy with the ink blending. So I just smushed the Saltwater Taffy down on this silicone mat. I added some water, and now I'm just using very little water and brushing it on a regular piece of white cardstock. And I'm just trying to be careful with the water, but I'm going back and forth, and each each line, just kind of depending on how much water you have in it, it changes the color ever so slightly, but it's still a great monochromatic background and super easy. So for this to dry, since this is on regular paper, or really if it was even on watercolor paper, things are going to start warping a little bit. So to dry, I set a large acrylic block on top of it and give it some time to dry, and that helps flatten it out. But I will also add some foam adhesive to the back of this piece, and that will help if there's any additional warping left. So I'm interested to know if you've ever tried this. I was really impressed with how it came out, and I just kind of stumbled on it on accident. I'm sure I've seen somebody do something similar before. I don't really remember when. I just got aggravated with my ink blending and decided I was just going to do a little watercolor. So it really does work, and it looks kind of cool in this background. And you can see here I'm adding just a little bit more water as it starts to kind of dry on the mat a little bit. And I just finish it off, like I said, putting it under an acrylic block. And that's going to be the background for our first card. I did use this same saltwater taffy on the ears and the little nose, and then I put 2 eyes in with just a little bit of Copic C9 on the eyes. It matches that really well. You could have just cut it out of the gray. I just wanted them to be a little bit darker. And then I used the Distress Oxide again on the heart that the little guy is holding. It's got some cutouts in it. I'm going to tape the cutouts in to the heart so that they're not out. I kind of like that little bit of stitched look around them, but not seeing through to the background. So I'm just going to use a little bit of adhesive to hold those in place. Then I will ink blend this and add a little bit of Copic coloring. So I wanted to add a little bit of detail to those stitched areas, and this R22 looks really good with saltwater taffy. It's pretty much the same color. So I'm just adding a little darkness right here, and then we're going to put some glossy accents over this because I wanted to use some enamel hearts, and I thought this would look better if all the hearts on the card were an enamel look. So I'm going to add glossy accents to it. So glossy accents is you can use it like a glue, but it's so great at making something look like it's enamel. And so the key with glossy accents is to get it done before any parts of it start drying. Otherwise, you'll leave little marks in it. So I'm making sure I've got everything covered, and then you want to try not to touch it and let it dry for a little while. So I'm just making sure I have everything covered and then it's not completely stuck to this piece of paper. And I noticed there's one area. So I did that super fast. Now I just need to put the parts together. So I'm getting my words laid out. I've got my MISTI turned over, and I'm holding these pieces with some magnets, and then I'm using mint tape from scrapbook.com to go over what I just put down, and that's to keep my letters straight. Super nice. It's kind of a I don't know, it's just a light tacky tape that can pick them up. And then now I'm going to go in and glue the backs of these, and I'll be able to see through my tape so that I can place this word down, and then I can slowly peel it up and it will leave the letters where they are. So just a quick little thing when you're trying to use letters that are, you need to line up, and there's a lot of them. This one especially, I needed to fit it perfectly between this bunny and the end of the card. You want to do something to help yourself out, and using a tacky tape like this that doesn't pull any part of the actual paper off is really helpful. So see how I can see through it, and now I can line it up how I need it on the card. So now I've put it down. Let me show you how I carefully pull it back up. So I'm going to press over all my letters once I've got it where I want. Make sure they're stuck to the paper. And then I'm going to take a pair of tweezers or pickups, whatever little tool you have that can help hold letters down. I'm going to slowly peel from one side. So I'm using these little tweezers from scrapbook.com that you peel up slowly, okay? So I'm making sure that E is going to stay, and I'm holding that tweezer on it just to make sure it stayed on the paper, and just kind of holding as I pull my tape off. Now this tape does not leave any sticky residue or anything like that on your letters or on your paper, which is awesome, and it's doing a really good job at coming off. I don't pull any letters off. I do think you should hold your letters down just to be safe, but it looks great. So all that's left to do is put this card together. I did need some enamel hearts, and so I didn't have any white ones, but I had these super light purple, and you can take a Copic marker, which this is R22, and color over them and they will change colors. So if it was a dark one, it's not going to change as much, but just some light colored, and this matches my little glossy accents so well. So I'm going to add this to the card, and then we'll move on to our rainbow baby card. Here's a quick look at that final card. It looks so cute. Okay, so next we're gonna do a rainbow, and this is gonna be a more pastel rainbow than I usually do. So I wanted to show you the colors. I'm using Distress Oxides in Saltwater Taffy, Dried Marigold, Scattered Straw, Salvaged Patina, and Milled Lavender. So I sped this up just because I want you to see that I'm using about a brush width to get my stripes. I'm not using anything else, just kind of coming in with the brush and making about that width every single time. I feel like that's a really easy way to make a striped rainbow. And if I wasn't going diagonal like this, it might be that I need something to keep my lines straight, but I found that they really are pretty straight, just going a brush length in between and going at the diagonal like this. So that's how I tend to do it, and I do blend my layers, and then I've got this beautiful rainbow to show for it. I made 2 of these because you'll see I use this for another bunny, so make yourself 2 rainbows. I'm going to use a really dark black ink and just stamp the congratulations on the bottom of this card, and that's all there is to this one. Pretty easy. Here's the final of that card. I did use as the background for this bunny the pumice stone Distress Oxide. I felt like with these lighter pastel colors I couldn't do quite as dark of a gray, so I just ink blended that and put it behind the bunny. This is the last card that we're going to make. We are going to use a bunny. Remember, I told you to make another rainbow, but we're also going to use this alphabet. This is called Alphanumeric Emporium from Tim Holtz, and it is a really fun alphabet. I'm going to layer these to get them to stick up off the page at least 3 high. And so I'm seeing about how much fits on an A2 card, and 3 rows fits perfectly. So I'm going to use some washi tape to hold these together, and then I am going to add some double-sided adhesive to a couple of pieces of paper. And the reason is because with as much sticking together of these little alphabets I need to do, it's a lot easier if they already have a sticky background. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and then I'm going to put my die cuts that are held together by washi tape on top, and we'll cut through, and they will have adhesive on the back. And I'm skipping ahead to where I've got these already at least 3 high here on these letters, and I'm making some marks on my paper so that I can make sure I line everything up in the center. So I'm making the center from the top and the center in the middle just with a small pencil mark, and that will help me line up these because I know I have 3 rows, so I have an exact center and I can make this very symmetrical. Okay, I sped this up, but I wanted to point out something. I always start from my center point and work out. So I've already put the F and the G down, then I did E. I'll show you the bottom row too, so that you can see that it just makes it easier to line everything up. I'm not necessarily using a ruler for all the other letters, but if I get my center in place, it really helps me to make sure I've got it lined up correctly. Now, each of these letters has a little line on it, so I tried to make everything kind of go the same direction because that's almost like a little highlight or shadow, but you can do whatever you want to. But that's why you'll see me kind of flipping around the H to make sure I had the lines on the right side. Look at how much dimension adding those extra layers of letters does. It's so awesome. Okay, remember I told you to make an extra rainbow? That's because we're going to cut this little bunny out of the middle, and then we're going to use the rest of that rainbow as the background for our next card. And there's no need to waste that piece of paper. Even though it's got a bunny cut out, you can just put your background over it and nobody knows. It's a nice little rainbow behind everything. This is the shadow of the bunny, or the outline if you want to say. It is pumice stone, just like I did with the last rainbow card, because I felt like this looked a little bit better with a pastel rainbow. So we're pretty much done. I'm going to add this little piece of washi next to this. I just think these little delicate dots, washi tape looks really good with the pastel rainbow. So I'm going to put this on the edge of my card. So now I just glue this on the rainbow, and remember that rainbow has the bunny cut out of it, but nobody knows. And now all we need to do is put our sentiment and our bunny on the front, and this card is done. I hope that you enjoyed seeing the new release from Tim Holtz. I love these little bunnies, and I hope that you'll get inspired to make some fun cards with them. They are so useful. They can be for babies, they could be for Easter, they could be for whatever, but they're really fun to use and super cute. I'm going to pop up those final cards. I hope that you learned some tips and tricks that will help you out in your card making, whether you're using these dies or not. And I've got lots of other videos on the channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And I'm going to pop up a video right now that I think that you would enjoy. Have a great day, guys. Bye.